Now we're rolling. Damage Plan MMA podcast. I'm Jason, as always, my co-host, the voice of MMA, and you call Zack Partridge. What up, dog?
Contract signed, sealed, delivered for March 19th.
The question is, though, are you going to finish the guillotine choke this time?
Bro.
That's the question, Zack.
Well, it's not the guillotine choke. It was the rear naked choke last time. Should have finished.
Oh, was it? I thought it was the guillotine choke.
No, I had 2 really good rear naked chokes that I made a couple mistakes, technique issues that I have fixed. That happens again. The fight's over.
Now that I've been doing jiu-jitsu, it's not as easy as it looks on TV to slap that thing in there.
No kidding, right?
It's not that easy. It looks very easy, but it's not that easy.
It's tricky, but no judges needed. That's the theme for this fight. There will be no judges needed. Remember when Steve Sharp was like, "I don't want you a part of it. I don't want you a part of it."
I love
I'm
that.
gonna have one of those moments. Not that the refs did anything wrong. Like I'm all good at that. But it's my job to take them out of the equation. So we're going to do that this time.
Okay, before we get started on UFC 270, which we both thought on paper might have been a little underwhelming. Turns out it wasn't.
But if you listened, what did we say? It's going to be great and entertaining.
It's going to be great. It always is.
But
before we start, can we please talk about the ending of the Bills-Chiefs game last night? Holy crap.
Best NFL game I've ever watched.
Greatest 2 minutes I've ever seen in my life in a football game. 25 points in 2 minutes.
That was some video game stuff right there.
Dude, I turned it on. It's 4th and 13, 2 minutes left. They're at the 2-minute warning. And I'm like, all right, chances of them hitting this, I don't know, 4th and 13, throw a touchdown. Then we get the 2-point conversion. Then KC scores, marches right down the field and scores. And was it like a minute? I don't even think it was a minute, was it?
Yeah.
Then the Bills come back. And score again. And then Casey.
There's 13 seconds left. And what did I say in our text group?
Too much time.
If anybody can get in field goal range in 13 seconds, it's KC.
And boom, field goal. It was like whoever got the ball first was going to win. The defenses were just gassed. It was crazy. What a crazy freaking ending. That was so badass.
So good.
Yeah.
Dude, the whole weekend. Every single game ended on a last-second field goal and then the overtime game.
Yeah, you had the 49ers, you had the Bengals. All right, so who's going to the chip?
Dude,
Rams.
The Bengals just beat Kansas City.
Bengals look good. I love Joe Burrow, dude. He's just got the little swagger about him.
Aren't the Bengals the one team that has the firepower to keep up with in a shootout with Kansas City?
I think so.
I think experience plays out, and I think the Chiefs win. But if I'm the Bengals,
Rams?
I'm feeling good with where I'm at.
Chiefs Rams, you think? You think the 49ers got enough?
49ers just beat the Rams in the last week of the playoffs.
I know. Stafford's on fire, looking good. 49ers are looking good.
I was going to say, I don't like the way the Rams finished that.
They didn't like the way they finished, yeah.
And if I had to pick right now, I would probably say Chiefs 49ers. But I'm cheering for the Rams. I'm cheering for our boy.
I'm cheering for Stafford. Gotta cheer for. Did you see Arlovsky on Get Up this morning?
No.
Oh,
I don't watch Get Up. Jason, how many times have we had the conversation? I don't watch that.
I know. Sometimes I don't usually watch it either, but Arlovsky was on there talking about it, and I just had to listen. He was going off. I told you Stafford was a good quarterback. Ah. All right. Can we talk about the fights?
Yeah, we can talk about the fights.
Let's talk about the fights. All right. Let's just start at the bottom and work our way up because there's so many. So Jasmine Vicious against Kay Hansen. That was an entertaining fight. It was entertaining.
I actually missed that one.
So I didn't think I thought the key to victory was Hansen taking her down and using her ground. And it was actually kind of the opposite. Jasmine's big. Kay Hansen, that's not Kay Hansen's weight class. She needs to drop back down to 115.
Yeah, probably.
It's my input, but yeah. Not that my opinion matters. I'm just a freaking podcast guy. Next up, we had Vanessa Demopoulos and Silviana Gomez Juarez. Vanessa She got freaking dropped. And one of the guys from the gym was watching the fights with me, and I said, "Don't sleep on her. She's legit on the ground." And what does she do? Slaps on the armbar.
And then she proceeds to have the most iconic in-cage meeting Joe Rogan experience ever.
Good for her, man. Good for her. Well, if you remember, if you watched that Sam fight, which she had with Sam Hughes in, was it LFA? Anyways, same thing happened. She was getting just dominated, and then she slapped on an inverted triangle with like a couple minutes left in the fight. She's fun. She's fun. Matt Frivola and Gennaro Valdez. That was Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Like, so I tried to pick I picked Valdez.
Yeah.
And I'm not even that mad because does that dude have heart or what?
That guy
he got dropped 4 times and
he just kept fighting. I think you messaged me and were like, "Stop the fight." I'm like, dude, for once I was the one saying no, that he's fighting. Like he was still coherent and he still was in it.
So much unnecessary damage. Like I never really felt like though that he was like gonna be back into it.
But I like the kid. I like the kid. Gravely and Oliveira. Gravely just dominated with the wrestling in that one.
Oliveira had some sneaky guillotine setups, but yeah, Gravely. That's where a couple of experience came in.
Yeah. Jack Della Maddalena against Pete Rodriguez. Pete Rodriguez didn't belong in that cage.
Dude, that was sad. So, I mean, that's an interesting conversation though, right? He took it on short notice. He got his foot in the door in the UFC.
Yeah.
It's like, but now it's like, where does he go from here? Because I don't really know where he can get winnable fights in the UFC at 155.
Don't they do those development contracts where maybe they bump him down to
LFA? To a UFC one. But he's already signed to a UFC one.
It's kind of like like you said, where does he go? Unless he just jumps into a legit training camp and starts nutrition. I don't think he's good at 170. I think he needs to drop down. I think he was a little too fluffy for 170.
Well, I think he's a 155er, but it was 170 because he took that fight.
That's true.
Short notice.
That's true. Jack looked impressive. Did what he needed to do. His striking was great. But I mean, once again, look at the competition.
Just outclassed. There's levels to this. And hey, that's okay for Pete Rodriguez to be that guy, right? That's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Victor Henry and Riano Barcelos. And we talked about this afterwards because shout out to Michael Lasky for putting a little bug in my ear. So I started doing a little bit of research and I'm like, this guy's actually pretty good. Like he could take a shot and he would walk through him. And
he wasn't just good. He was phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, I was impressed. I'm glad you and I looked at that one a little closer. So, and for the record, I think it takes a special kind of fighter to come into the UFC like that and fight a veteran fighter that's been in there for a long time.
Oh, you know and on short notice.
And on short notice.
You want to talk about a pro's pro? He was ready to do that on short notice.
100%. Same thing with the next fight, the Michael Morales and Trevin Giles. This Morales kid has all the talent in the world. Your 22-year-old step against Giles, who had a ton of experience in the UFC, moving down a weight class. He looked phenomenal too. And this Morales kid, dude, his parents are judo freaking black belts. But that's impressive. To me, I was thinking about this after the fights. To me, any fighter that can come in there like that and get a huge win on their debut like that against a veteran fighter, dude, they're there, man. Legit. They're there. Legit. They're legit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just talking away today. You can add into this anytime you want, Zach.
No, I mean you're hitting it on the head. I mean Morales is just Morales. I mean, yeah, props.
Yeah, when your parents are both judo black belts, that's what you get, I guess, right?
Helps.
Wait till you see Kayla Harrison's kids in about 15 years, slamming people on their head. Next up, Saeed Nurmagomedov against Cody Stamen. Was that guillotine deep or was that guillotine?
Power guillotine. The power guillotine.
He has those long arms. When he wrapped that arm up there like that, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that was tough.
I know it's
so yeah, when you're long like that and you have a deficiency of wrestling, you do have one advantage, and that is somebody's going to close the distance, and you can try and be ready to slap on that guillotine. And he was ready, and he timed it really well.
He is. It's crazy seeing a guy with the last name Gometov that's a striker.
Yeah,
and a good one.
Yeah,
he's a problem.
Good. He's a problem. And who did he ask for? You know what they used to do next is Merab.
Ooh, him and Merab? Really? Throw him with Merab already? Is he ranked yet? I don't even think he's ranked yet. No, you can't give him Merab yet.
Why not?
He's not even ranked. He's not even ranked in the bantamweight. Give him like a Song Yadon or a Ricky Simone.
Oh, that'd be a good
fight. About Ricky? He's 13. Sean O'Malley. They're not going to do that to Sean. They're not going to do that to Sean. They're not going to do that.
We'll see who the better striker is.
Yeah, that one was sucks. I know our boy Aleko down there trains with Cody, and he was a little hurt on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we had Michel Pereira and Andre Fiallo. That was a fun fight. It was fun.
No, dude, it was fun, but Fiallo got pieced up. He
was doing pretty good.
I was screaming at Pereira, though. He hurt him. He loaded up with 2 crosses back to back.
Yeah.
And he hurt him. And then he does a flying knee and misses. And it's like, quit jumping and just plant your feet and throw punches, you moron.
He did that multiple times, too.
He had him hurt and then would throw a flying knee, miss, and then the guy would recover. Or if he just kept letting his hands go, I think he would have gotten the knockout.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, it's frustrating to watch. I mean, Pereira's fun, but he's also very, very frustrating.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the 2 big ones. Figgy and Brandon Moreno. Has there ever been a fight where you're like that of fighters that have fought at least 3 times that you're like, I want to see a 4th fight?
Okay. So I'm going to get a little pissy here.
Get a little pissy. Go ahead.
Let me get a little pissy here. I can't stand Figueiredo.
I'm with you.
I mean, one, right? He's trying to be Henry Cejudo 2.0 and just being cringy bad guy. And I think with the language barrier, it's different. Like Henry Cejudo, I think everybody can kind of see what he's doing and it's annoying, but you can kind of see it. Figueiredo, dude, he just comes off as downright disrespectful.
He really
is. The little push at the end of the 3rd round, he had the guillotine, let's go, gets up and then pushes him after. Dude, you know what?
Yeah. That's
crap. I don't care if you're trying to be a bad guy or not. I don't. And another thing is he said in the post fight he would only give Moreno a rematch if he behaved. You know what?
I don't like that.
You ready? Figueiredo, he didn't deserve that rematch.
No, he didn't. So
he got choked. He got choked out and tapped.
Yeah, Moreno deserves this rematch.
So, in the public image, what Figueiredo's done is pitted himself as being the bad guy against the babyface, who everybody loves Moreno. I don't hate that, but at the same time, too, you have to realize now, Figgy can do no right. He is approaching that that character that no matter what he does now, he can do no right, and people will hate him.
Yeah.
If that's okay, and you're good with that, that's that's fine if you're choosing to do that. But I mean, he's I don't know. I just feel like it's so unnecessary, and I hate that he's the champion. I can't stand it.
You and me both.
And one, it's because Moreno's so likable, and I hate that he lost. But 2, I would not cheer for him against anybody at flyweight.
So is that fight to make again?
You have to.
You have to, right?
You have to. If Figueiredo does anything other than give Brandon Moreno a rematch, if he tries to move on to somebody else, he's the biggest coward in the UFC.
I think the UFC's looking at
because Moreno did him a solid. Moreno could have sat out and been like, no, I just finished that guy. Why would I give him a rematch?
Yeah.
And the other thing is excuse after excuse. Oh, the first fight was this. That fight was at a bad weight cut. Well, whose job is it as a professional to make sure you have a good weight cut? Yours, you fatty.
It's his.
Like, knock it off.
Yep.
Like, it's just excuses. And then what does Moreno do? He has a smile on his face. Oh, that's the game, like he handles it like a professional. I can't figure it out. I'm sorry. If he wants to be the new Henry Cejudo, that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a bad look for the sport.
Did you agree with the decision?
For the sport.
Did you agree with the decision?
Come on, we're live. Turn off your phone.
I know.
Rookie.
Rookie.
No, I didn't agree with the decision.
You didn't agree with it?
No. I already rewatched the fight, and I think
I haven't rewatched it. But
I thought Moreno won 2, 3, and 5, and I don't.
You thought Moreno won 3 even with that knockdown?
The knockdown that turned into a headlock that you can't assume that would have been the end of the fight because Figgy grabbed his head, and for all we know, Moreno pops his head out right there and starts ground and pounding him if there's more time in the fight.
But that's a defining moment in that round. Like in a close round like that.
It wasn't that close. Look at Moreno. Moreno outstruck him that whole round.
I know he outstruck him, but it just didn't seem like it seemed like a close round. Like I know Moreno was outstriking him, but it didn't seem like
the judging criteria.
The more effective shots I thought were coming from Figgy. In that,
that's all subjective. But that
it is.
Again, that's all subjective.
So I said when the fight ended, I was telling the guys there because I was leaning towards Moreno at the end. I'm like, I kind of think they're going to give it to Figgy, but I'm like, you could have two different judges looking at the fight and scoring it 3 different ways. That's how close it was, in my opinion. Would you have been happy with the draw on that one?
No, he did. What? When was there a 10-8 round? How could it have been a draw?
That's true.
There wasn't any 10-8 rounds.
Yeah, so every judge gave the 3rd round to Figgy. So that knockdown clearly was big.
Okay.
In that. The 5th, 2 judges gave it to Moreno. Only one judge gave it to
Moreno
Figgy.
Won that round.
I thought he won the 5th too. The 4th round was the one that Figgy got 2. Figgy got 2 judges on the 4th. Yeah, that's pretty much the difference right there. I thought it was a super close fight. I want to see it again in Mexico because that crowd was alive when they were there to see Moreno.
I don't think it matters where it is.
Oh, I don't think so either. But
this is why you don't give somebody a rematch that doesn't deserve it too. Because now what? So if Moreno wins, then what?
If Moreno wins,
if Figgy wins, then what? Then Moreno goes to the back of the line? That doesn't seem right to me.
If Figgy wins 2 in a row like he did.
And the other thing is, dude, like Nate Diaz said too, Moreno's still the champ. He didn't get finished.
Yeah.
And so that's my biggest thing is I know that there were some knockdowns, but at no point did I feel like Brandon was almost about to be finished.
Subjective, really.
Well, I mean, it is, but what I'm saying is there's no doubt Brandon finished Figgy in one fight.
Yes, I agree with that.
I never even felt like he was close.
No.
The only, and I'm not one to critique. The only thing that I would say that Moreno should have done different is use his offensive wrestling a little bit more because I think he has a distinct advantage in the wrestling.
And check those damn leg kicks.
Yeah, I thought he did actually a pretty good job.
That he actually did. He was lifting his foot up on a lot of those. That spinning calf kick that he did was so badass. That was sick. Are you going to try that? I want to see you pull that off in March.
No, sure not.
You're not that fast. You're not 125 pounds.
I've tried it before and it doesn't work that well for me. I'm just not that good.
Yeah. All right, main event time. How impressive was Francis in the main event. Is he not the scariest human on the planet?
You say how
Now
impressive was he?
How impressive was he? You text me and said what you thought.
That literally might be the most impressive 5-round title fight performance I've seen from the standpoint of a fighter literally doing something that really anybody outside of Extreme Couture's training room, like nobody even knew he was capable of that.
Yeah, nobody.
Right? I mean, for him to make the strides that he's made from the Stipe fight where Stipe pretty much just wrestled him for 5 rounds.
Yep.
To be able to do that to a guy that's heel hooked people, that's competent on the ground and big himself. And you ready for this? He did it when he was exhausted. You could tell when he got up from the 3rd round. I was like, man, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that for 2 more rounds, but that's what he's going to need to do. He freaking dug deep like a champion and did it.
Yeah.
Francis does not get enough credit for following now the Kamaru Usman path. Remember, Usman could wrestle everybody. Then he started knocking everybody out. Now, Francis could knock everybody out. That was his big equalizer, right? Well, now he can wrestle people. We now have not a chance. We now have 2 champions that have evolved into better fighters as champions. Usually it's you become champion, you lose, and then you try and fill those holes to get back. They're doing it as they're on top. Those 2 are single-handedly raising the bar of what it means to be a champion in mixed martial arts. That it's not enough to just get on top. You have to evolve to stay on top. And I just not enough credit can be given to Francis for the obvious work that he's put in the training room, and to not have an ego and check his ego and not be like, no, I can just knock him out. I mean, how many times do you hear somebody is like, I don't need to learn how to wrestle. I'll just knock him out.
Yeah.
I'll just knock him out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And for him to go, no. If I want to remain champion, I need to learn how to wrestle. And he did a beautiful job wrestling.
Stipe.
By the way, Stipe can't beat him now.
No, Stipe's not beating him now.
Nope.
The only person that's beating him is Gane in a rematch eventually.
You know what? You ready? Gane isn't champion until Ngannou leaves.
See, I think he can beat him. I think with a few more under his belt, I'd like to see him fight Curtis Blades. See him with his blades.
That's really scary. That's really scary for Gane to take next, though, because if Blades can do that to him too, then he falls a nice chunk of the way down the pecking order.
See, but you got to remember, for as good as Francis looked, this fight was 2-2 going into the 5th round.
Yeah, I know.
And if Gane keeps that fight, if Gane doesn't go for that heel hook, he probably wins the 5th and he's the champ. Like, that's that close of a fight. So for as impressive as Francis looked, you remember, if he doesn't go for that heel hook, I think he's the champ. Maybe Francis ends up taking him back down, but I think that was a mistake trying to go for that. But either way, though, it's 48-47. One judge had it
49-46, which I can't
49.
I can't really see how Francis won round 1 or 2 there.
He gave him round 1. The one Sal Diamano gave NGannou round 1, which I thought it was pretty clear Gane won the first 2, and I thought it was pretty clear Francis won the next. Yeah, dude, it's so what does Francis do now? Like, is he stay? Does he go? Like,
so we texted.
Yeah.
Francis has the leverage.
Francis has all of it.
He's the heavyweight champ. He's the man right now. And there is no Gane was supposed to be the guy. Like we said, right? The not shiny new object's going to come. No, no.
Yep.
So now it's like, okay, well, now I do hold all the cards. Francis can go, and this is, you ready for my prediction?
Yeah.
I think you're going to see John Jones versus Stipe for an interim heavyweight title now. Because I think Francis is going to sit out again and go, cool,
Smart.
I want more money, and I'm going to sit out until. And as the champion, since he won, he now has a year where he extended to his contract where he can't just leave.
Yeah.
But he's used to sitting out for a while now, isn't he?
Yeah. And he's hurt, got a knee injury.
So he's going to be sitting out anyways.
Yeah, he's going to be out anyways.
So if I'm the UFC, I am betting at this point that John Jones is in some sort of interim title fight. And I would guess it's against Stipe because I don't think Stipe is coming back unless it's for a title fight, which he should.
I agree.
He deserves that.
Yeah, I agree.
If those two decide not to fight each other, they want to wait for Francis too. I mean, but they hold the cards. Now everybody's complaining about the purses. This is weak. This is this. I get it. I'm all for fight or pay more. But one, we have no idea how much Francis got in pay-per-view points, and we have no idea how much Brandon Moreno got in pay-per-view points.
Yes.
Champions get pay-per-view points, right?
Do they ever put that out? They don't ever put that out, do they?
Nope.
Is that information public?
Nope, it's not. The only time we ever found out about pay-per-view points is Connor, because Connor likes to brag about how much we made. But Dana's like, we don't announce that, but if the Fire wants to, that's more than fine with us. We just don't. Because, I mean, it's the same thing. It's not really anybody else's business.
True.
Right? Like if you make commissions on something, it's none of anybody's business what commissions you make.
Well,
unless they choose to share it.
And get the Venom money too.
Yeah, and then they get some Venom money too, which isn't a ton, but it's something, right?
Yeah.
So here's my question to you, because you even said this this fighter pay thing this is a hard one for me to swallow.
It's getting there for me. Like you know how I feel about it. We're usually in agreement on this, but
So at what point, I mean, capitalism, the American dream, all that stuff, at what point does Dana have to go, yeah, you know what? The overall purses on this are pretty weak. Like, and the pay-per-views are up. Here's the thing that people don't understand. The pay-per-views are now $75. That's ESPN. That's not the UFC. The UFC sold their rights. And they get paid. The UFC gets paid a flat fee.
Yeah.
And then they split pay-per-view sales.
Yeah.
So by the way, the UFC is not pocketing that $75 per buy.
Yeah. Yep.
ESPN is cutting them a check for $500,000 for every single event they put on. And then they're splitting. I don't know if it's 50-50. I don't know if it's 80-20. I don't know what the split is. But then they're splitting the pay-per-view points. So right off the bat, ESPN's taking a huge cut of that $75. And I'll bet you it's around 50%, if not more.
Yeah.
Because ESPN's, they're doing all the marketing, they're doing all the advertising, they're doing all that, right?
Yep.
So that's ESPN, what they're doing to try to get a return on their investment for cutting the check to the UFC for $500,000 for every single show.
Yeah.
Then you do have to pay the fighters out of that, right?
Yep.
They could say that the Honda Center broke the gate records or whatever. I don't know about you. Every time they did a panorama of the crowd, there was a lot of empty seats.
When Moreno was fighting, it looked like
not when Moreno was fighting, but I mean, that place wasn't sold out. Or maybe it was sold and people didn't come or whatever because of COVID or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, people are making all these assumptions with having a fracture of the information. And let me just say, and I'll just say this, and this applies to everything. If you are making assumptions, only hearing one side of one story, and you don't have all the information, odds are you probably don't have very good data to be making an assumption. And that applies to everything in life.
Here's what I think it's eventually going to get to this point, and I know we've talked about it before on here. MMA is arguably the fastest growing sport right now. Like it's up there with when there's a UFC pay-per-view. I mean, like it's up there with, maybe not quite up there with the NFL, NBA, but people are watching. It's on ESPN. It's on network television. MMA is hot right now. And what I want to make sure I word this right, because I get both sides of it. What's hard for me, especially for this one, is when you get to that level, when you get to that NFL level, that NBA level, that elite level, right? And the UFC is that elite level. You have to be all in. You have to be all in with your nutrition. You have to be all in with your new training. You have to be all in with your recovery. All in, right? So you get that opportunity to fight on a pay-per-view and you're only making 12 grand. It's like,
okay, but time out. Who signed the contract?
I understand that. No, I'm not. I get all that. Trust me. I get all that, but it's getting to a point now where it's like, are we taking advantage of these guys and to get them to fight on that level?
No.
I'd like to see it.
At what point is it on the fighter's responsibility to be like, you know what?
It is.
Or their management.
No, it 100%.
The fighter's management.
It 100% is, but we have to. I think it needs to get to a point where if you're fighting on that at that level, you should be okay for 6 months to a year. You should be able to pay for your training. You should be able to pay for your nutrition. Like it's just, and I get it. But that fighter that's fighting on there, he doesn't have an opportunity to go make money anywhere else. They can't promote, from what I was told, they can't go out and promote, hey, I'm Kay Hansen, UFC fighter. I'm training at this gym. Like they can't use that UFC name. So where are they? How are they supposed to get money? I get both sides. You know I do. You know I do.
How are they supposed to get money?
If you're devoting that much time to something to fight at that elite level, and you're only walking away with a check for 10 G's, that you're barely covering a month's worth of expenses. It's just like at that level, I'm just saying at that level.
The contract. Then, so now what you're saying is,
I'm just saying, but if you've been rewarded,
just listen. If what you're saying is they deserve more, right? And I would love to see them make more. But you can't make a deal and say, I want to be in the UFC. I want to be all these fighters that are trying to get in the UFC. They go, I want to be in the UFC. I want to be in the UFC. I want to be in the UFC. They sign the contract. Yes, I'm in the UFC. And then one fight ends, like, oh, I don't make enough money.
Yeah. No,
I can't do that.
I 100% agree. I'm in agreement.
Here's
I don't know what the solution is, but
this is business 101. It's supply and demand. It's supply and demand.
You're right.
If the fighters are worth more money, go to a different. The only people that can change the narrative that the UFC is the place to be
is the fighters.
Is the fighters. If the fighters are clamoring and going, we all want to fight for PFL. The UFC is the afterthought.
Well, the thing is, there's options now. There is options now. There wasn't options 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
But fighters coming up right now, they're all still trying to get to the UFC. Their hopes and dreams are not to get signed by the PFL. It's just get signed by the UFC. Because the UFC, that's the thing that people forget. Everybody's talking about right now, right?
Yeah.
But at what point does the UFC get credit for dumping losing tens and tens and tens of millions in the hole that they didn't know if they would get back?
Yep.
And they did that to grow this whole sport. So now you're telling them, hey, I know you took all the risk in the beginning. I know that you win the whole millions and millions of dollars, but you guys are fine now, so you guys need to share the wealth. Dude, that's not the way capitalism works. That's not the way entrepreneurship works. That's not the way business works.
Yeah, no,
if you don't pay them enough, if they're not getting paid enough, stop signing with them.
I would like to see a little, and I think it's good. I think it's coming eventually. Like it has to. Like it just has to. But like you're spot on though. You're spot on though. It has to come with the fighters. Like I don't know about you, but
so Moreno, right? He's the champion, making only $200,000 to show, right? To me, and I know who he's managed by, and I know he's managed by Iridium, and that's fine and dandy. Maybe there should have been something in his contract that says if he becomes champion, his money goes up. Because he was out of the UFC and then he came back. Maybe they signed him to a 4-fight deal, and then right before he became champion, they signed him to an extended deal. Because here's the other thing that people don't understand. Like NBA contracts are guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
They're guaranteed money. So if you're a fighter and you're making $60,000 and $60,000, right?
Yeah.
And the UFC goes, and this is where the betting on yourself comes into play. And the UFC goes to a Brandon Moreno, and I don't know this. I'm throwing this out there, but he's making, 60 and 60 on his second run in the UFC, maybe, or 50 and 50. Yeah. And they go, okay, you have one more fight on this deal. Here's a brand new deal for 200 and 200. Do you want to take this now and you have guaranteed 200 and 200 for your next 4 fights? Or do you want to wait? And if you lose your next fight, maybe your next deal is only 75 and 75. But if you win, now you're in the title contention. Maybe it's 400 and 400. You know what I mean? This is where fighters have to, betting on themselves pays off versus taking the security. If they take the security, but then become champion, you can't just go back on your deal.
Yeah.
We see it in the NFL. We see it in the NFL all the time. These fighters they sign a long-term deal. Well, the organization or the team is signing them to a long-term deal saying, we are banking on you, we are betting on you being better in the future. But they're also signing that long-term deal to say, we think he's going to be great. If he holds out in a year or two, it might cost us triple this. So let's sign it now. It's a win-win. Security for the competitor, security for the organization team, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like it, hold out and bet on yourself. You know what I mean?
I agree. No, I
don't like this narrative of, you know what Ngannou should say? Go to the UFC and say, I want to guarantee $5 million to fight.
Either that or don't put him on like 4-fight contracts. If you're a fighter and you build up, like Ngannou's obviously he's built up a name, right? Like he's a big commodity. He's talked about going into boxing. Let him go make that money. If he's an independent fighter, maybe there's a clause in his contracts that says, hey, if I can go over and do some boxing, I can go over and make $10-20 million in boxing. And not, I keep going back and forth on stuff because I 100% in agreement with you. You look at it and it's like, man, what these guys go through at that level. It's like they need to start getting educated early on in their careers on how to build themselves up.
Whose job is that?
It's their job. It's their manager's job. But
I'm saying if you sign with an agency,
yes,
you're putting that you're trusting them with that.
Yes. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, you're away from your family, you're training, and you're only making $10,000 for a fight, which is going to turn into about 4 after everything's said and done. Probably maybe even less than that. I mean, yeah, you get an opportunity. Maybe you sign a 3-fight contract and you're making money. And I'm not saying, I'm just saying it's like, to me, that's not worth it. Like I can go out and freaking deliver pizzas and make more money than that. Not to get my face passion. Exactly. And don't sign the contract.
Then don't sign the contract.
I'd like to see.
You will never get me to admit that.
I agree. I get what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
They're not getting paid. They're agreeing to it.
Yeah.
If they're signing and agreeing to it, like like I said, Jason, like it's, and I know it's different, and these are all analogies, but you know, you can't tell me that the UFC doesn't deserve to make buku bucks for the risk that they
Oh,
took,
they
for the money
100%
that they
do.
lost. Like people
100%
like,
do.
anytime I hear the phrase "they're making too much money," you
I was
lost
like,
me.
yeah, I
They're the one.
don't
They're the
agree with
ones
that
that
either.
put it on. And
They're
here's
the
the
one
other thing.
putting on the show.
So and now let's look at the second. So you up fighter pay, right? Let's
Yeah.
just let's up it from. I think everybody makes a minimum of 12 and 12, right?
One guy made 10 grand a show.
Okay. Maybe
I thought it was 12 and 12.
It usually is.
Yeah, because Jasmine's 10. It was 10 and 10.
Let's pretend they raise it to 25 and 25.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, we don't know how much ESPN is taking off those pay-per-view sales. We don't know how much the PI center costs. We don't know how much they're investing in other things. We don't know how much.
Giving them the PI center, right?
What?
Fighters could go to the PI center for free, right?
100% free.
They don't pay to go there, so that
that's what I'm saying. You don't know how much the UFC it costs to run that year round.
Yeah,
right.
And that's huge.
And they're building other PIs around the world.
Not to interrupt you real quick though, look at all the fighters that are winning right now that are training at that UFC PI.
Yeah,
they're getting elite level training.
Right.
Elite level training.
So I'm sitting here saying, without seeing their books, there's all this stuff going into it, right? So, and part of it is the UFC has to offer a fighter 3 fights every single year. That's part of their contract. They have over 700 fighters on their roster. I believe it's close to between 700 and 750. If you raise the minimum to 25 and 25, let's just say that, right? How many fighters are getting cut and don't have a job at 12 and 12 anymore?
Yeah.
Without knowing the numbers and calculating on myself, that roster size is getting cut down from 7 to 750 to at least 450 to 500, if not more.
Yeah.
You might have just cost 200 to 300 fighters their jobs.
Venom payouts, just so you know. You want to know the Venom payouts? 1 to 3 bouts, you get $4,000. So if you have 1 to 3 bouts in the UFC, $4,000. 4 to 5, you get 4,500. 6 to 10, you get $6,000. 11 to 15, $11,000. 16 to 20 fights, you get 16. 21 and more, you get 21K. If you're a champion, you get 42K. If you're the challenger, you get 32K. That's how much Venom's kicking back for those guys. On top of pay-per-view points. Just the title contenders get those, right? Not the whole card.
Yeah,
right, that's right.
Correct.
Yeah, just the titles, title holders, title fights. Dude, it's such a
no.
I'm in agreement with you. I'm in agreement with me. I don't even really have. I can't even really argue it. It's just
it sucks. It sucks. I'm not trying to be unsympathetic for the fighters, but I'm just saying, one, you don't deserve more money by just asking for it. That's called entitlement.
Yep.
No. So 2, if you're going, I'm worth more than I'm getting. Okay. Realistically, figure out what you're worth. And if the UFC is not meeting those needs, figure out you are only worth what somebody's willing to pay you.
Exactly.
So if you're worth more and the UFC, if you know you're worth more and the UFC isn't willing to pay you what you feel like you're worth, wait till you're a free agent and go ask the other promotions to pay you more. And guess what? Guess what? If you're not a name, they won't. Everybody talks about how much Bellator pays and how much PFL pays and how much they pay. Guess what? They pay their top guys maybe more than the UFC, but they don't even roster 30% of what the UFC rosters.
Here's a question for you. If you were an up and coming local fighter. Let's just say you're 10 years younger, right? Do you want to make fighting a career?
What's
full
that?
time?
Say that
Would
again.
you want to make fighting a career? If you were 10 years younger, you're a young stud, right? You're running through everybody. Would you look at this and be like, I see the opportunity to make a crap load of money? Or would you say, I don't really think it's worth what I'm going to have to put my body and my family and all that through for?
What's your goal?
Exactly.
Your goal,
would you? I'm asking you.
What do you value? It's what do you value? For me,
because if you're saying yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
To say it's what do you value? If your goal and your value is I want to be world champion one day,
yeah,
then I'm not doing it for the money, right? I'm doing it
exactly
with the goal of being world champion and knowing that's when the money will come. It's a long-term investment, right?
It's
it's like anything. We start a business. We know we're not going to make squat for 2-3 years.
Look
right?
at our podcast we've been doing for 2 years. So we're not making a dime. We have to pay to have our podcast.
You start
if you
a
want
business.
to sponsor us, no.
Yeah. You start a business, you're not going to be in the green for at least a couple of years, right?
Yep.
That's the investment. The amount of work you put in those 2 years, do you deserve more? Yes. Should you be making more? Yes. But the payoff comes later.
Yeah.
Well, they're their own business. They're their own brand.
Yeah. 100%.
Because I'm sitting there going for Francis Ngannou, right? I'm sorry, you're not going to get a ton of sympathy that you only made $500,000 or $600,000 to fight.
It's probably going to be more like $2 million after pay-per-view and all. Yeah, it's going to be
But you know what I mean? Like if you're telling me
that's for one fight.
I know. And so if you're telling me, hey Zach, you could fight and you get to the top and you're going to be making a minimum of $500,000-$600,000, even a couple $100,000 to fight. But my number one priority is to be world champion. But then that's what I'm going to be compensated.
Yeah.
Okay. Because guess what? All I need is one of those paydays, and I can start investing, and I can start doing other things with my money. Let my money work for me a little, and create.
I think the problem is you get a lot of these guys wanting to just be in the UFC, and they don't sit and think about, just because you're in the UFC, you still got to put some time in there. That money's not going to come right away. There's no way Francis had to borrow money to get through camp. There's no way.
If he did,
that's bullshit.
If he did, it's because he mismanaged his money.
100%. He is making
$500,000 his last fight.
And on top of that, he should be making Conor McGregor money. But he's not.
But he doesn't market himself and he doesn't promote himself.
Not marketing himself. That guy is literally the scariest human being walking planet Earth right now. And I mean, people know, but you and I talked about it. We weren't that excited about the pay. I mean, we were, but the general population's looking at that card like, I'll pass on this card. The general fan. Now us junkies are going to watch it, but it should be like, oh, Francis is fighting a heavyweight title fight. The whole world is watching this thing. That's the way it should be. It just didn't seem like they had that buzz.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So
but
that's what I'm saying though. It's at some point, it's the person that cries. I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but it's would I like the UFC to make more money or pay more money to the fighters? I would. But at some point, the fighters have to take a little bit of responsibility and say,
I agree.
You know what? I agreed to this contract. Now,
yep.
Now the next time the UFC offers me a contract, dude, is it worth it? Yeah. And if it's not, then go do something else. And nobody cares.
Yeah.
What's his name?
You're the one.
Jimmy Flick.
Yeah.
He walked away because he said, not making enough, not worth it. Dude.
It's fine.
More power to you.
More power to you. Yeah, like you said, if nobody's in your arm, sign that contract.
That's right. So what's your goal? So what do you value? Is it money?
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing as a teacher, right? if you sign up to be a teacher and then cry about not making enough money, it's like, dude, you knew how much you were going to get paid when you signed up for it.
Yeah, teachers know how much. Same with cops. Like, you know how much you're making.
That's
like,
right.
You're not.
Well, if you get into the UFC and you're a young up and coming fighter, more than likely, your contract's gonna be 12 and 12 for your first 4 fights.
100%. But if you're marketing yourself good and you're going like the Sean O'Malley route, maybe you come up with a little clothing line, sell some t-shirts on the side. You're doing a podcast. You're making yourself relevant. Like there's things that these guys can do. Yeah. Anyways, all right, we got to jump off because we got another podcast, Fighter Spotlight podcast, in 4 minutes. FierceFightingChampionship.com this Saturday night. Come check us out. It's going to be a freaking amazing night. If you want a chance to win tickets, listen to ESPN 700 at 1:30 today will be the first one. They'll be doing giveaways all weekend this weekend. So ESPN 700, give those guys a listen. They'll be giving away free tickets. We out.